The National Britain's Choice Online News. I'm Robin Stienberg. Welcome to the Stienberg Review. And today we have a distinguished guest from Thailand, and he's none other than Associate Professor Pavin Chachawan Pongpan. He's the professor based in the Center for Southeast Asian Studies in Kyoto University and in Japan. And apart from that, he's also the Associate Fellow at the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies. And previously, he has worked as a fellow and lead researcher for political and strategic affairs at the ASEAN Studies Center at ISIS. Now, Dr. Pavin received his PhD from the School of Oriental and African Studies, and he's also the author of two books, A Plastic Nation, The Curse of Thailand's in Thai-Burmese Relations, and Reinventing Thailand, Thaksin and His Foreign Policy. In November 2011, Pavin led a nationwide campaign to free Apon Tampopolko, known as Akon, a political prisoner accused of committing lèse majesté and jailed for 20 years. But then Akon died in prison of cancer in May 2012. Today, Associate Professor Pavin will be telling us more about what's happening in Thailand. Professor Pavin, welcome to our show. You have a very distinguished career, and also in your research on what's happening in Thailand. Now, could you give us some update on the issue between the difference between Thaksin and also Abhisit regime?
Well, I mean, talking about Thaksin is in fact both of them, Thaksin and Abhisit, we are talking about the past, because both of them have no official position within the current government. Thaksin has been in exile for, since 2006 when he was overthrown in a military coup. And then Abhisit lost in the election last year, July 2011. He's now serving as the leader of the opposition party. Clearly, the platform between the two men, political platforms, are different. For Abhisit again, it is clear his party is Democrat Party, has been perceived as pro-establishment, royalist, pro-military. So it kind of go against Thaksin's faction right now. This Thaksin faction led by his own sister, Yingluck Shinawatra, who is now serving as a Thailand Prime Minister and also as a representative of the ruling party, Pheu Thai party. We can see that the two parties are very different. Whereas I said, Abhisit his party is pro-establishment, royalist. The Pheu Thai party of Thaksin, I wouldn't say that it has an anti-monarchy platform. I wouldn't say that, but I think it's the agenda and the platform is a little bit more of pro-democracy, pro-electoral democracy, and also in the formulation of policy, you can see that Thaksin's and Yingluck party they are focusing more on kind of public participation, and also they have done a lot of bottom-up approaches, which is very different from the Abhisit and his faction. So you are seeing two different kind of parties, and that also reflect what Thai society has become today. With the deep division between, on the one side you have a pro-establishment, the other side you have ranging from pro-Thaksin to pro-electoral democracy.
Now, you spoke about democracy. Do the people of Thailand recognize democracy right now today in Thailand? Because when you talk about Thaksin and Abhisit, and also now his sister running, the country itself, what is democracy to the Thai people?
I think it's very difficult to say. We have had democracy for, oh my God, this year is 80 years to be exact, because Thailand changed from absolute monarchy in 1932 to a constitutional monarchy. Basically, it's another kind of democracy. But I mean, throughout these 80 years, democratization in Thailand has not been smooth. The path has not been smooth. It has been very rocky because of the continued interference in politics of the army, and to a certain extent the palace as well. So that's why, and because different groups in society have their own interest in supporting different institutions. So it's very difficult to define what exactly democracy means. For the pro-royal, for the pro-establishment, they would have seen democracy as yes another form of governance, whereas the monarchy has to be at the center of that particular kind of system. Whereas on the other hand, a group like Red Shirts, pro-Thaksin, when they talk about democracy, they are talking about electoral democracy. They are talking about one man, one vote. They're talking about the right, to go to the poll and to choose their own favorite politician. And they're talking about the respect for the outcome. It's too sad that the other side would not see democracy that way. And because of that, there have been military coup, every now and then. And I mean, since 1932, we have had 18 military coups because these people do not believe in in democracy, in electoral democracy, and especially if you have new civilian government, which happen to be too strong against the military, against the establishment. That when the military would see it fit to come in and to intervene. So I find it difficult to give you the right answer. What exactly democracy means? It depends on whom you talk to, and what kind of position they have been adopting.
Now let's go to the three different groups, or maybe perhaps even four, that you have mentioned. Now, because a lot of our viewers are confused, who are the red shirts, the yellow shirts, and then you have probably the white shirts, and then they have the monarchy. Could you help us to understand who are these groups are, so that our viewers can understand and able to evaluate?
Sure, there's more than the three colors you said in Thailand. I often make joke that going to Thailand this day, you have to make sure you pick the right color to wear. Otherwise, you could be how to say perceived as leaning toward a particular group, political group in Thailand. Well, it starts off with let me cut this short. It starts off with a group which ally itself to the monarchy, and this group has saw Thaksin as a threat. That's why they came out on the street to try to overthrow the Thaksin regime in 2005, and they did it successfully, not because they did it by themselves, but they created a situation of ungovernability so that the military could intervene, and in fact the military did intervene, and as a result there was a military coup in September 2006. They started off with wearing yellow shirt for that particular reason. It's because yellow represents the color of the king, because the king was born on Monday, and that when for the first time royal symbol was exploited for political purpose. I'm not sure whether this is a good thing, right? But anyway, I'm not going to go into detail. Now, for those who disagree with the military coup, after the military coup, they came out on the street as well. Initially, they started off with wearing the same color, which is yellow, because they just want to show that, look, we oppose military coup, but we still love the king. That's why we also wore yellow shirt. But I mean, things get complicated because there are a lot of finger pointing, there are a lot of tactics, to alienate, to isolate, the opponents. That when for those who disagree with the military coup start to wear red, and red for them mean many things. In fact, it means many things in Thailand. It can mean passion, it can mean heat, it can mean fire, it can mean anger, because these people they have been they were so angry about the military coup, and many years of dictatorship in Thailand. So that's why they use red shirt. And the red also very important is the color of the Communist Party of Thailand.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it belongs to the army.
No. The red shirt, in the 1960s and 70s, red was associated. sorry, red was associated as being communist, and being communist, in the past, was kind of number one enemy, to the Thai nation. So they just want to become kind of like reactionary, to be controversial, to be non-conventional. That's why they pick red. And because of that, you can see the difference between the yellow and the red. But later on, the yellow has been used far too much to exploit it. So some other groups which which have been very supportive of the monarchy, came up with different color. First they picked white because they claim that white was a little bit neutral, but even though we know that white this day also mean royalist. Then later on, His Majesty the King, he has worn a lot of pink shirt. Now pink become new yellow. So it's just different. And we have blue shirt as well. Blue shirt is a group that came out, in the scene and had a clash with the yellow shirt, leading to the collapse of the ASEAN summit in Pattaya in 2008. Those who follow Thailand closely would understand that there were clashes between the red shirt and suddenly, the blue shirt came out nowhere. That is also a new form of royalists. Lastly, we have black. Many people call Men in Black, which evolved into the May crisis in Thailand, May 2010, which led to the state brutal crackdown on the demonstrator. And the Men in Black were supposedly the one who kind of created the situation and then provoke the military. But basically, to answer your question, yes, there are so many different shades. But only the red that represent the kind of anti-old regime, whereas other different kind of color, broadly speaking, they are more or less royalists.
Oh, okay. So the blue shirts, are they from the military regime?
The blue shirt, it's only one time off that they came on the scene, only for that particular reason.
Oh, okay.
We suspect that it was mobilized by a group of politicians who, again, ally with the military and also with the palace.
Oh, wow. Now, about the palace, what sort of political and protocols have they imposed, and also for the future, of the monarchy? Because a lot of people are worried that the king now is old and he's dying, and what is the future for the people in Thailand right now?
First thing, this issue is very sensitive. In Thailand, we could not have this kind of conversation because we still have very a strict law called lèse majesté law, which is very brutal, very. It's difficult for anyone to talk about the monarchy basically, and under this law, you can be arrested just only for the fact that you talk about the monarchy.
In Thailand?
In Thailand. I mean, but as it happened lately, it's happened everywhere. For example, there's a case of a Thai who became an American citizen. Basically, he's now an American citizen who read a book, a very controversial book, banned in Thailand, called King Never Smile, very critical of the monarchy. And I think he translated part of it, and he also put it on his website. Everything happened in the US. But then when he returned to Thailand, he did not know that he was in a blacklist. They arrested him and put him in jail for something that happened many thousand miles away from Thailand. So which basically, you cannot run away from this law. I think that thing is so difficult. It's kind of stop people from discussing this critical topic. I think to me it's time now for everyone to talk about this, because I think the future of Thailand depends heavily on the state of the monarchy. It's impossible to talk about Thai politics and not to talk about Thai monarchy, because I think these two things are inseparable. To answer your question, what would be the future of it? I find it hard to say, because there are so many factors involving in this process. We must talk about the role of the monarchy, right? We have to talk about the role of Thaksin who's still in exile, and also the yellow shirt, the red shirt. What I can tell you that at the moment of when the royal transition take place, the transit could happen so smoothly that no one even noticed that there is a change within the wall of the palace, or it could go the other extreme, the other spectrum, when there's going to be a lot of chaotic situation. The red shirt, yellow shirt will go on the street, trying to take control of the situation. Then Thaksin would come back. Then the military again wants to take control maybe stage another military coup, declaring the state of emergency. People might start to kill each other once again, just like what happened 2 years ago. I can't tell you. The only thing I can say that, once again, the future of Thailand really depend on this particular upcoming transition, which I don't know how it will turn out to be.
Now, let's move forward to human rights and religion. Now, how important is the role of the Thai people when you look at human rights and religion? And do you think the women and the children will be well taken care of? Because when you talk about the transitions and so forth, what's going to happen with the women and children especially?
I mean, it's very difficult in Thailand talking about rights, especially for women and for children. Talking about rights, I mean, in themselves, it's already difficult in Thailand because I think we have faced so many cases of human rights abuses. For example, the killing of the red shirt demonstrator 2 years ago. That is an obvious case of the abuses of human rights. Let alone talking about the right for female or for children. I think this is a fact of Thailand. There has been a culture of impunity where state authority can do anything to their own citizen without having to be prosecuted. It has been a tradition in Thailand for so many years. So because of that, I think it's going to be very difficult to be too specific about the right of female or children or women. One good thing though that we have a female prime minister right now. I mean, for the first time, in many years. And I think Prime Minister Yingluck has been trying to promote, particularly the right of female, because she sees herself as representative of Thai women. And for example, she just came back from an international conference where she met with both the leader of China and also Japan, and they were talking about the conflict, in the dispute over the islands, also the cases of South China Sea. And Yingluck said that she hoped that she would be able to help solve the problem her own way by using women touch. She believed that as a female, we might be able to be a little bit more compromising comparing with male leaders. But that reflected how she see. I think this is going to be a role that she could play in Thailand. It might start quite slowly, but she has been in power for over a year. If she still continue on this trend, I think maybe for the first time that the Thai government would pay more attention to the right of women and also children.
Now, speaking about human rights, how about the farmers, themselves, as well as when it comes to the economics?
Sure.
So because the farmers are also affected by a lot of things.
Sure.
And also, how does religion play? Because I know that Buddhism is one of the key roles that has played fundamentally in Thailand.
The religion issue is a big issue, but we talk less about Buddhism, in the capital. But this has become a burning issue in the South Thailand, where we have three provinces, with Muslim domination. That is one thing. I will talk about that later on. But the one thing we have to bear in mind that unlike Myanmar, where monks, have become directly involved in politics, in Thailand, the two things are quite different. The world of monkhood and the world of politics in Thailand somehow do not kind of combine with each other. So what I try to say is that it seems that religion and politics in Thailand seem to be separated. Maybe that is one good thing, so that religion would not be exploited like many other things in Thailand. But I have to go back to the point I said earlier about really Thai Buddhism and also Muslim, especially in the context of the three southern Muslim provinces. I think this has been an issue. It's an issue of many Thai trying to claim trying to define Buddhism as hegemonic religion in Thailand, and they also claim that this is a very homogeneous country, whereas the majority of the Thai, over 90%, are Buddhist. So because of that, because of the continued concentration, continued claim of Buddhism as one of the national identities, that kind of leaves so little space for the Muslim in the south, because they feel again alienated. And I think the differences in religious viewpoint led to one of the major problems in the South Thailand. I mean, including other problems like the economic disparity, something like that. But I think religion in this particular context play a very important role. And I think somehow a lot of Thai people, they are, I can even say that they are chauvinist Buddhists. They think Buddhism in Thailand, Buddhism just define everything. Buddhism also define politics in a sense that we should not use violence, which is again very wrong. With what we have seen in the past. But as I said, when it comes to playing politics in Bangkok, I don't think the religion has big role compared with what happened in the South Thailand.
Now about the farmers and the
Okay,
economics.
sure. Yeah, I mean, as you asked me now about this, there's a big issue in Thailand about the rice production and rice, the marketing of rice, so as to help Thai farmers. I think Thailand has been moving away from agricultural society to industrial society. But I think farmers, they are still important player in Thai economy, and rice has been leading products of Thailand for so many years. We are the largest exporter of rice to the world. So because of that, I think farmers have a very special position. And I think this particular government under Yingluck, also the previous government under Thaksin, they continue to adopt a populist policy, basically to win hearts and minds of someone like farmers, in poor provinces, basically helping them, extending loan to them, giving a credit to them. When they produce rice, the government would be able to find market. I think that seems to go hand in hand between the current government's policy and the farmers. But I don't think everyone is very happy with this kind of practice. Especially the opposition would claim that the heavily subsidy of the government vis-a-vis the farmer, that will kind of like reduce the level of competitiveness.
Oh, really?
Yes, of Thailand.
Because I also came to believe that your Thai king has a foundation as well that has supported the agricultural industry, which I saw. Now, would that be sustainable enough? And is that good for the long term for the monarchy as well as the government working hand in hand?
Okay, let me put this way. Yes, you are right. The monarchy has been doing a lot on agricultural project. 2 points though. One thing is that exactly because the project has been based on self-sufficiency economy. This is a philosophy supported by a lot of royalists that Thai people, including Thai farmer, we can grow rice, this and that. But we can just do it only sufficiently. That's why it never worked. Because not only Thailand but the world has moved on. We no longer stuck in a society where we stop talking about industrialization, capitalization. That's why it doesn't work. It's helped the farmer, but at a very slow pace. Some of the project has been going on for 30 years, but I still see farmer in Thailand as poor as today, as poor as 30 years ago. So it seems like there has been little improvement, right? Second point I'd like to make is Thaksin saw the gap between the assistant coming from the palace, and then the reality that the farmer have been facing, and Thaksin exploited the gap by coming up with this populist policy. As I said to you earlier, shower them a lot with money, giving them a lot of loans so that they can make mass production, find a market, make a quick return, something like that. So I think this point also lead to the conflict between Thaksin and the palace, and I think it comes to the point that the farmer earning so much, getting so much benefits under the Thaksin regime would not want to go back to what they were practicing 30 years ago under the royal project. So it could be a point of contention in the future.
Now, speaking about the future, when it comes to accountability, what's the policy like in Thailand when it comes to accountability?
Well, accountability, from what perspective?
The policy perspective, as well as it comes to the taxes and also
Sure.
the elections as well.
Even though this period of Thai politics is the most brutal, is the most competitive. The one good thing is that the check and balance system has been so effective. Whatever the government come up with the policy, the opposition party, the Democrat Party would scrutinize it, would tear it apart, try to find faults. So that basically the original plan would be to undermine the government, but in itself it creates something quite good. And I think that lead to I don't know whether I can answer you correctly. It lead to a new culture of accountability.
But how about corruption?
Well, corruption is entrenched in Thailand. It's going to be very difficult to getting rid of it. So it's still going on. It's difficult because if the opposition accuse the government of committing corruption, the opposition also do the same thing. You see, this has become a culture in Thailand. I hope that the situation would be better because, as I said, that we are in a new era of greater scrutinization, and if the opposition can smell something quite not right about it, I think it can be big news.
Now, could you elaborate about the 2010 massacre? I know that there's a lot of heartburning issues that's not been answered. Could you elaborate on that? I know.
Sure. After a military coup, a lot of people, especially those who support Thaksin, still felt that situation has not changed, especially the existence of so many standards in Thailand. Both sides did exactly the same thing, but one side would get away with it. The other side, and always have to be on the red shirt side, they will have to be prosecuted, this and that. I think this somehow kind of infuriated them, and it's building up to the point that they cannot take it anymore, and we have to understand that May 2010, April to May 2010, that was under that Abhisit regime, and the way that Abhisit came to power is clearly because of the military support. Abhisit party never won majority in the election. Basically, it lost election, but somehow with the military help, it could form the government. The red shirt went on the street. I remember late February 2010. March went on. Only for one purpose at the time. It was to call for an election, because they claim that Abhisit has no legitimacy. But things got out of hand. Some of the red shirt become too extreme. To support kind of radical approach. And then there's a lot of negotiation between the government and the demonstrators, so that the government asked them to kind of disperse. But at the end, it did not happen. Because of that, I am convinced that the state authority eventually launched a brutal crackdown, deadly crackdown on the demonstrator, and as a result, up until today, 98 people were killed for that particular incident. Over 2,000 were injured. And among this number, this included some foreign journalists as well. And because of that, it put this issue into an international spotlight. And after the massacre against the protester, up to today, 2 years has passed. We still cannot bring the people who committed crime to justice.
Is that why the Truth for Reconciliation Commission of Thailand came about through?
Well, yes, under a lot of criticism, eventually Abhisit Vechachiwa, I think about 2 months after the massacre, set up this committee so that to look into the incident. But as I said earlier, elsewhere, that the composition of the committees, basically, these are people who supported the military coup in the first place. These are people who have a very negative attitude toward Thaksin. So right at the beginning, you can see a lot of impartiality. You can see a lot of, how to say, non-neutral stand coming out from this Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And as we see the final report just last month, it is clear that there had been an attempt of the committee to allow the military, the state authority, to get away with it by putting the blame on men in black, on Red Shirt, something like that.
Now let's move forward. Now in education and health, what's happening right now with the policies that's been implemented since the new government has
I mean, education, both education and health is a part of a populist policy which the government has done so well. I think this government has been quite clever in the sense that there are so many hot issues that we've been talking about. Justice, talking about double standard, talking about amnesty, reconciliation. I think the government tried to stay away from those difficult issues and focus on what it has done best, especially under Thaksin. And what it has done best is in the term of education, in terms of health, the 30 baht